Welcome back to Cole's Crumbs. Hope everybody's been doing okay since the last video I made. We actually ended up getting COVID. Found out that Saturday night. Went ahead and did one of the at-home tests we had, and both me and my oldest ended up showing positive for that. But we are on the mend, so I haven't been doing any cooking, obviously. Don't want to contaminate any food, especially anything I'm going to be selling to people. But I wanted to go ahead and work on my video editing and see if I could get a little bit better at this. Since I'm going ahead and just working on video editing, I found a bunch of videos I did last year when I was playing around with making chocolates. It's something I've always wanted to do, tempering chocolates, making the filling, and then, of course, going ahead and filling those chocolates. Alright, and in this video, you are going to see me using acrylic molds. I really prefer those over silicone molds just because they just look so much nicer. The way they come out looks better. With the acrylic molds, you really have more space to get filling. You'll see me using a lot of parchment paper, metal bowls, scrapers, and spatulas. For this chocolate, I ended up using both the seeding method and uh, kind of like a tabling method. I like to use the metal bowl almost like tabling, as I rub the chocolate around the edges of the bowls and scrape it back down. It helps to cool the chocolate and keep it moving, which helps tempering it. Alright, and so starting off here, I'm filling the trays. The trays are going to set the chocolate to the sides because they're cold. I actually ended up, I believe, freezing these trays before I used them. And then as I scrape them in, I'm just making sure it goes all the way to the top. I believe I ended up putting it in the freezer for a couple moments just to let it make sure it got on the sides good, and then dumping that back out and scraping it off again. And this was Calibo and Lint, I think I used for this chocolate, so it was pretty good quality chocolate. I do like Calibo, but it is very expensive. And then I'm letting it drip back out of the trays. You don't want to let it set too long, because if the outside is too thick, you won't have much room for your filling, and you want to be able to have room for the filling and, of course, for the bottom of the chocolate. And then once I let all of that drip out, I usually fold up the parchment, and then that chocolate can be used again later on for other things, or you can actually end up using it for closing off the chocolate you're using here. These videos are going to show me making about 4 or 5 different chocolates. The first one you see me filling and dumping them back out is the one I believe I filled with like a mint white chocolate. So I basically just took white chocolate, put a couple of drops of mint in it, and filled those with that. That one was pretty good. The hearts with the pretty pink and blue designs on the top of those ones had a whipped strawberry ganache. The semi-spheres that had blue and gold painted on them ended up being just the regular strawberry ganache. And then we had the roses, which I did like a brownie kind of fudge middle to it. I think I ended up calling them like a brownie truffle. Yeah, and then I had some ones we did that I just did the solid chocolate. Alright, and we're going to go ahead and jump to the semi-sphere ones, which is the ones I filled with the pink ganache. And you can see how these turned out. Again, this was my first time doing them. So some of the shells are a little bit thick on the outside, or thicker than I would have liked. And you can also tell that The spoons I'm using also have some of the whipped strawberry ganache on it because I just split half of the batch of strawberry ganache I made and whipped half of it, and the other half I kept. I wish I had whipped the whole thing because it was amazing. And then just put like a little dab in each one. You don't want to overfill them, otherwise you won't have enough space to put the chocolate and cover them back up. On here, on the very end, you'll see me doing a couple of drops of a tincture. If you're wondering what I'm dripping into the tops of them, I wanted to do an infused chocolate and see how that turned out. It wasn't bad, but I wish I had just mixed it in with the ganache instead of dripping it in afterwards. And then you'll see me come back here with some of the retempered chocolate that I saved from earlier and capping those off. Oh, also wanted to mention that the mint ones that I did, the chocolate for the outside, those were a dark chocolate. So it was a dark chocolate and mint. And the steps are pretty easy, so once you fill it up again, you're going to scrape it off again. And of course, this one you won't be able to save because it's probably going to have a little bit of the strawberry ganache mixed in with the chocolate. But you do want to kind of rub it around a little bit like this just to fill in any pockets or any space. And then once you scrape it off, of course, you can stick it in the freezer, put it in the refrigerator. If it's tempered properly, you can actually set it out on the counter and let it cool that away, and it will set, if correctly tempered, at room temperature. But I preferred to go ahead and just freeze them and use a knife to just see if they crack when I cut them in half. And that's how I decided if they were tempered or not. That, and of course, if they come out of the mold easy. If they're not tempered correctly, they are a pain to get out of the mold, especially acrylic molds like this that don't move or bend. Everything is a mess here. Again, this was my first time ever making chocolate, so I'm being very humble with this video. Please be nice. But yeah, it was super messy. It's probably the best chocolates I've ever had in my life, but I've never had before this, and this was the whipped strawberry ganache. Before this, I had never had Calibo. I think I had had Lint on occasion, but You can see me cutting them in half here and showing the filling and how they ended up looking after fully decorated. Unfortunately, I didn't get the hearts on video. That would have, I wish I had, because that was so much fun just flicking white chocolate on everything. And basically, how I did that was just by tempering some white chocolate. Got 3 little bowls, put a little bit of food coloring in each, stirred those up, took the spoon that I used to stir them up with, and just kind of, I think some of them I flicked, some of them I kind of just drizzled back and forth. So you don't have to be messy as I was with it, but it was my first time doing it, and I wanted to have fun with it. And so that's what I did. Those were so good. I wish I could make those again. Well, I could make them again. Maybe I will, and then record it this time. But I am out of time, so thank you guys for watching, and stay safe and stay healthy.